So if you listen closely, you can tell the sound's coming from somewhere here. It's a ticking. It gets worse when you rev it. I take a stethoscope for mechanics and listen on each pulley. So basically what I'm going to do is stick it on the front, because obviously the pulley's spinning, so you're not going to stick it on the pulley itself, but maybe on the front. Let's see the tensioner move. Could not diagnose it because the plates are on, and touching the stethoscope to it caused grinding right there near that one. I think it's that pulley, unfortunately. So first we need to remove the intakes air vent. So there's one screw here, and there's one screw here. So you don't have to take this out, but that alleviates this. And then right here, kind of snaps out. It's broken already, so. Now there's this coolant line. I replaced it with bendable hose, but it's plastic normally and just snaps. So I recommend just going to the store and buying a coolant line that's as wide as this and just getting these. I mean, it probably costs like $4 total with the little twisting clamps. Just much better. I tucked it underneath, but I think it might sit above. Maybe it sits underneath. I don't know. At the top of the engine from the front like this. There's one screw there, which I've replaced because they suck. Two sides, so there's this side and this side. So I used a flat head right here pushing this, and then I used needle nose pliers grabbing this and pulled. Not too hard. Flat head on that side, needle nose on this side, pulled gently or wiggle a little bit. And that's off. And then there's one clip here, but mine's already broken. Right, so you normally just bend that out. There's another clip there, also broken. Normally just bend that out. And there are two tabs in the bottom. Right there, there's that plug. And I think there's a rubber grommet that usually goes on there for vibration. I don't have it. It ripped off mine as well. That's the hold up here. You could technically take this pipe out here or loosen it if it helps, but kind of just pushing the pipe forward is how I get it out. I've done this like 5-10 times now, so it's possible. So on mine, I can move the radiator pipe out of the way because, like I said, I changed it. So it's better. And this is a line for, well, no one's car is going to have it. It's for these resistors. Just took off the front bolts of the under panel, so it just hangs down. I didn't take the back ones off. There's the bolt right there that was holding. I mean, it's different on mine, but that's where it's going to be. That's the oil cooler. If you have the 335i, it's the oil cooler. So, also, you can drain the radiator from right there. This plug is much easier to access than taking the intercooler off to get to the drain plug. I think I said that in another video. They line up in this, and then the original intercooler, they also line up in something like this. So you just make sure that these little clips align. That's it. Some of them might have another screw right here as well, on the bottom. Right here somewhere, but this one doesn't. Just trying to put any marks on my new radiator. But also there's a pipe in front from the oil cooler as well, which is annoying. Okay. The hardest part is clearing this side. You gotta continually push this intake pipe forward and then kind of push this forward. This side's easier to get to. I'm just gonna gently like wiggle it back and forth. I'm kind of trying to push this towards me so it doesn't hit the radiator anymore. Okay, God. I could have just made this stupid engine bay an inch bigger. And I'm trying to make tiny little marks in the new radiator. These radiators are fragile, so be careful. But there's the oil cooler that bolts in. And there's the piece I'm talking about. The rubber grommet sits. So now I'm going to take this off. Or loosen it, I guess. I can't take it off. It looks like I go back to the turbo, so I'm not going to take it off. So I'm going to loosen that bolt right there. It looks like a T25 or T27. And then that bolt right there. Those two bolts. And then I'm just going to loosen that and pull it forward a bunch. There's normally the stock diverter valve here, but this is just a rubber plug. This is a $5 rubber chair plug from Lowe's, and then there's a blow-off valve. And the reason for this is because the blow-off valve keeps hitting the box. I keep needing to get a charge pipe, and this was for another blow-off valve that required an intake from two different sides, intake and vacuum. So ignore that. But they came out, so just lift this up to take it out, and then they came out with a T30, two of them, and they look like this. So make sure you keep the grommet metal washer spacers in it. There too. So I loosened this flathead, and I also loosened this one right here for this pipe because I just wanted a little more clearance. It's stuck here, the oil deposits, but if you really wanted, you could take it off and get more clearance, but it helped span this out a little bit. So if you pull this out just enough, I mean, you have enough room to get a socket in there. And I took the 4 caps off so I can use the stethoscope now. They look like this, and I'm going to keep them in order. And they kind of snap on like this. And then you just put a flathead right there and wedge it. So I just snapped it on. But literally you just put a little flathead here and wedge it out. And then pick it up. I did it with 2 hands. And then I'm going to make a little diagram or take good pictures of how the belt is wrapped around. From my eye view right now, it looks like the alternator is top right, the tensioner is top left, and then the 2 other bolt pulleys that keep tensioner right here. But I think this is one piece because it kind of torques like this. And then there's one more tensioner below it, the biggest one. And then on the right of that is the AC compressor, I believe. And on the very bottom right, looks like the power steering pump. And in the middle is the crankshaft. I guess I don't need to write it down, but yeah. Diagnosing is going a little bit harder than I thought, even trying to pinpoint the noise on here because of the airstream within the pipes. So I think it might be one of the 2 right side pulleys, but I'm not quite sure. And to try to help even more, I'm going to just take it off. So I'm going to go to the Torx bolt there, which is really dirty, but it's a T60, and then I'm going to torque it clockwise to loosen the string. Let me see if I can. Alright, actually I was able to just pull it out enough to wedge it in there. Now it's straight, and it's kind of providing some back end resistance. It's good. I don't want to crack this pipe though. So I think that's the limit of its reach. Clockwise. Okay, take the belt off. That's good. Alright, I'm going to unloop the belt. So, like I was saying earlier, the top 2 go around, pins in the middle, and then this one goes around the bottom of the outside, and this one goes around the bottom, which I can't see, but it goes around the outside of the AC compressor, and then the power steering pump down there. Here's what the parts look like for $110. Came with the Serpentine belt, Continental, and it came with 3 pulleys. I think the only thing I read that's not included is a cap. So you can just line them up and do them one by one. But this plastic cap right here is not on one of them. So that's what it look like. I don't know if it's it. I'm still thinking it might be the alternator, but it's hard to reproduce and still very faint. But since this was so cheap, this is a start, I guess. And holy thing, and then don't pull out the pan until I'm ready. Alright. Alright, this is a T50. Make sure it's nice and square and perpendicular. Push in. Actually, it didn't feel that tight. I'm gonna make sure I see what parts are behind. This has indentations of the groove in it. This does not. So you don't have to actually undo the bottom one of this, you just pull it out. So this giant hinge thing is on the top part. So it sits like this. It's the damn intercooler pipe. If I could take that off, these would be better. I think I might just do that. Pretty much just the clip. The intercooler pipe's right there. Should already be accessible. Literally just might be different because mine just snaps right out because mine's an aftermarket one, but I should get pliers or a smaller screwdriver. Yeah. Alright, so I managed to stick the thing down there. All I did was pull the intertube or the intercooler pipe back. It's got a little bit of flex and then pulled this enough to get that in there. It is what it is. It feels really loose back there, but I guess we'll come across that. Put this is an E12 or probably an 8mm, somewhere around there, around this. And you could do it like that to get into that one. If you didn't want to bring this back enough, I don't know if I've done any damage, we'll find out later. I don't think I did because I didn't pry at all on the left, but my intercooler pipe wouldn't come out. The easiest way is to take off the intercooler pipe, which if you have a stock intercooler is a piece of cake, so do that. I just unscrewed this and I just wanted to show the back what it looked like. It has this like locking little, well, not locking, but kind of sits on there, but it's angled inwards, so the lip is inwards towards the back of the thing. It's basically a cover on the inside. So I just wanted to note that, so you know how to put on the new one in case it's confusing. That's the second thing we got. Next I'm going to do the last one before I put them all together. Check the, it's hard for me to see. Check the 3 bolts, just, you know, hand tight on the power steering pump. You can't do that on the AC. You can change the bearing, I think. I think my AC might have a problem too, and then there's this, which you need a special tool with a spline on the outside to go in the reverse direction, but you can change that. Mine is locking in both directions. So when I stick something in there to stop the blade, mine locks in both directions. So I'm not sure what that means. If this doesn't have a clutch inside, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But I think I'm gonna go with the alternator first. Although I'm gonna test the voltage and whatnot. If the noise is still there, then I might go with the AC second. But they all feel fine. No looseness, no wiggling, no oil on the outside. I don't know. So that's how it looks. I have an adapter, 1/2 inch to 3/8 on a 1/2 inch breaker bar that's like 25 inches. Although I don't need it, but it's just easy. I'm just gonna make sure it's perpendicular and loosen it. Just make sure that you don't hit make sure you keep it nice and perpendicular and flush into the thing so you don't strip the wire, and make sure you don't hit the radiator. One dent will make you have to replace your radiator, trust me. Yeah, it's already loose. And that was that easy. You definitely don't need a larger breaker bar. This is the one that might be suspect. This and the top tensioner pulley, but thankfully they all come together as a kit. You can probably reuse these bolts too. I don't know the quality of the new bolts, but I guess we'll find out. This one's really simple to get off. So again, this has a little plate in back. And just the bolt in front. These two. So I'm just grabbing it by the middle, and there's no play. It's tighter. No noise. The old one, tiny bit of play. It spins freer, but no noise. So I really don't know. But you can try to check them when they're off, like that, see if it's more determining. The new bolt just sits in like that. The back plate again with the recessed side on the inside. Just kind of wiggles its way on. That's the hole. That's what it looks like with it off. I just made my way down to make my way back up to give me a little more space without having to reach around pulleys. I thought that was smarter. I'm going to try to clean all this with a pressure washer later, but I really would just want to test and see if the noise goes away. So you can see this is the second one. Same size, just cleaner. Again with the recessed thing on back. That's it. So I'm just going to stick that guy right there. And this one again, I'm just going to finger tighten in. I got this long bolt, and then on the back I have this, so don't forget. So that's it. Just work this thing down in here. Not going to take that pin out, remember. I guess you could, but you don't have to. This thing kind of recesses back in there. Seems like there's an exact angle because there's a bar like right there on my finger that see if I can get a better shot. So it kind of lines up in there against the metal on the right and left sides. There's like a notch. I believe I'm going to try to shift right now, but you can see this when we're going to try to line it up. Yeah. Yeah, that hinge must lock behind that little nub. So that's the right way. I guess I should have paid more attention to the angle of the exact angle of the... So just hand tighten it in. So that's good. And I'm going to torque it down. 38 Newton meters is basically the torque for everything here. And I only have a 1/2 inch torque wrench, and it comes out to about 28 foot-pounds, if you're wondering. you go. So that one, I was not able to get the 1/2 inch breaker bar, but I did find my old broken 3/8 inch breaker bar, and I was able to do that. So unless you have a 1/2 inch T50 with a 1/2 inch torque wrench, that's the only way you might squeeze it in there. If not, you have to probably get a 3/8 or even a 1/4 inch that can go up to, well, 1/4 inch is usually inch. I think it's like 300 something inch pounds, so it has to be pretty massive, but this is at 28, and I didn't want to tighten anymore. It already feels like I'm coming close to possibly stripping these, so they're tight in there. I recommend taking the pipe off, but if not, you can push it back like this and then push this back like that, just enough to squeeze the wrench in there. Like I can almost do it right now by one hand. But you want to make sure it's flush, dead flush. You do not want to make it uneven at all because you'll strip it, and you want to sit there and hold it so it's completely 90-degree angle from what you're doing. But this is the hard one. So everything's tight now, and I'm just going to put the belt on and then pull the pin. Worry about cleaning it later. I might just wipe off the pulleys because there's dust, but if you can see, there's dirt everywhere. Lastly, don't forget to put your caps on. They're pretty much varied by size. That one already has one, but this top tensioner does not, so I just reused the old one. Big deal. And turn it and pull out the pin. And that's that. So the pin's out. Now I'm going to loop my new belt around the old belt. I don't know if that shows. It's pretty decent looking, but I'm still going to replace it. I guess belts can still go even though they look good. Usually you can bend them and see cracks and stuff that you don't see, but it feels pretty smooth too. Now I'm just gonna loosen that thing, bring it over, and drag this around the edge right here. So make sure it's completely straight. Bring it down. Make sure it's fully seated. Looks good. Yeah, be careful with this new one. I read some reviews where people say they strip it easy. Verify, go through and verify they're all on, and you're good to go. Start the car, and then you can put the rest of the stuff back together. You can start it without the fan, just don't run it too long, especially in the heat. But it should be fine. Let's verify that all spinning and lining up correctly, no noise, no weird stuff. Should be good. Give it a few revs. Make sure you line those clips up. The hardest part is the radiator, for sure. Getting or the radiator fan. Make sure you put that screw back. Make sure you line the clip up. Make sure you get the clamp with the rubber thing right there, with the little hole or the ring around the intercooler pipe. It's like a clamp. Make sure you get that around the rubber thing if you have it, and make sure you line the 2 slots in the bottom and then plug it back in. When you're putting it in, try to angle it outwards on the bottom like this, against this edge, so you don't clip the radiator. I've already caused a leak doing that. So be nice and gentle and just wiggle it in. And if you have an oil cooler, that's even harder. That's what I had to try to maneuver, but just kind of wiggle the oil cooler around until this right side falls in, and you should be good. That's that.